Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening.
So it's our second Monday of the month, and as usual, we have our meeting in English. And tonight I'm going to be the one giving, talking to you. It's about the mission of the intelligent person on the earth, based on the Gospel according to Spiritism. But before that, we will have Nancy. She will come here to talk to us about a message from our daily bread. If I'm not mistaken, is 118.
Right.
And before that, we're going to have our initial prayer, so that we can be even more focused on our dear friend and Master Jesus, and thinking about God above everything else. So if you want, we can close our eyes so that we can focus a little bit more on the blessings that we're going to receive tonight by saying, Dear God, our Creator, our Heavenly Father, the one that loves us all from the beginning to the never-ending end. We would like to thank you for your blessings that we feel every second of our lives. May your presence here tonight be felt not only amongst ourselves through our friends, our hugs, and our conversations, but also in the words and in the thoughts of those who are here tonight to share the message of love, of compassion, and of hope that you, through your Son, our friend, our brother, Jesus, brought to us 2,000 years ago. May the blessings that we feel now fulfill our hearts and our most inner desires for peace and love, now and ever. So be it. So as I said before, let's invite Nancy. She will give us the name of the message and give us a brief talk about it.
Good evening, everyone. Well, the message is from the book Our Daily Bread, number 118. And the title is For This Reason. Do not repay evil with evil, or insult with insult, but with blessing, because to this you were called, so that you may inherit a blessing. This is Peter chapter 3, verse 9. The line of the complainers has always been numerous in all tasks of goodness. In the evangelical apostolate, we equally observe this general rule. Many students obedient to the pernicious habit prefer the path of strife or of scandalous dissent. However, some additional reasoning might awaken the community of the students for greater comprehension. Would Jesus invite us to the sterile conflicts only to repeat scenes of individual whims or of a tyrannical force? If such were the case, the ministry of the kingdom would be entrusted to the obstinate, to the debaters, or to the giants of physical energy. It would be senseless for the server of the glad tidings to be involved in laments that have no reason for being. Bitterness, persecution, slander, brutality, lack of understanding, are ancient factors that torment the souls on earth. In order to contribute to their extinction is the reason that the Father called us to the task. Do not foster them by paying too much attention to them. The Christian is the live point of resistance to evil, whatever it may be. Think about this and seek to comprehend the significance of the verb to withstand. Do not forget your obligation to serve with Jesus. It is for this purpose that we were called. Well, I took some notes about some paragraphs, and it starts saying, do not repay evil with evil. Do not repay insult with insult. It means that in our life, insults will be coming. Always. We have a situation that somebody come to us and say or do something that we don't like. So it means we have to forgive. There is no other option here. That's what he said. In the paragraph number 4, when he said, many students obedient to the pernicious habit prefer the path of strife. So it says that most of us prefer the way of conflict because we are this way. We used to talk about people, make gossip. Sometimes we think it's just fun, but it's not fun. There is something that can happen if we do this way. So let's make an effort to break this bad habit, because it is a bad habit. In another paragraph, it says about Jesus, and he's asking us, would Jesus invite us to sterile conflicts only to repeat sins of individual whims? So, especially Jesus, right? He brought us the message without discussion. He didn't had a conflict with people. He didn't argue with people. He just spread the message. And we know that he didn't miss any opportunity to teach us and talk with the people. But he never argued with them. Then the next one, Emmanuel said, Jesus wants the extinction of, I will say word by word, slowly, bitterness, persecution, slander, brutality, lack of understanding. About slander, I went to the dictionary and I got what slander means: to damage someone's reputation by making a false spoken statement about them. Maybe we did this thing many times, right? And Jesus is inviting us to stop it. And Emmanuel said that God is calling us for this task. He's calling this thing as a task. This is our homework. Stop doing this. And then there is a nice tip here. It says, do not pay attention to that person who likes to make bad comments about everything or about everyone. if we do not pay too much attention, that person will not feel like to do more comments. It's kind of we will be stopping the person, he or she. That kind of person who always has a gossip to tell. So he invites us to do not pay too much attention. And then the paragraph 10, and that's the way I understood, it says the verb to withstand, right? So he says, let's see, think about this and seek to comprehend the significance of the verb withstand. So withstand in Portuguese means suportar, aguentar. And here he's saying, seek to comprehend the significance of this verb. But in this context, it means to understand other people. It doesn't mean that you have to withstand people that do whatever they want to do with you and you have to say amen. No, but we have to try to understand this kind of people, and we have to try to not be this kind of people. So that's what I understood of this message, and I hope you guys like it. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm gonna try to, I put the text here that we're gonna talk about so that we can go and try to follow a little bit. I'm not gonna read, well, I'm gonna read the whole thing, but I'm not gonna, it's not a big text, so I think it will be okay for us to take a look at this. Oh, let me just turn that light. So we're still in chapter 7, which is entitled "Blessed Are the Poor in Spirit." And we've been talking for the past few months on this chapter. This is item number 13, as you can see it down there. It's the last item of this chapter. And then we will go to another of Jesus's blessings. Blessed are the pure in heart. That's next chapter. Next month we're going to start talking about. So in this chapter, what Kardec studies is what is pride and what is humility, and that's what we've been talking about last month. That's I think it's even the title of what we talked, which was pride and humility. So it was a message, or two messages actually, from two different spirits talking about. One from Lacordaire and the other one from Adolphe, the Bishop of Arjo. And this week, this month, we're going to talk about this message that it has exactly this title, Mission of the Intelligent Person on Earth. And it was written in 1862 in the town of Bordeaux in France, written by this spirit called Ferdinand, which I don't know who he was. He only says that it was a protecting spirit, probably of one of the mediums that were in the session there, and then he gave this message, and Kardec used this message to explain or to make us read a little bit more about what is pride and humility, and why did Jesus say, "Blessed are those who are poor in spirit." So before we start, or before I start really going into the text, I'm going to read the full text. It's not too long. I'm going to put the text here so you can follow what I'm reading. I think it makes it a little bit easier. I apologize if the text that I have here is a little bit different. I don't know. I didn't check because we have a few different translations. And the book that I have here, I don't know if they use the same one as they use there, but it will be close enough, I guess, and you can see. So let's start with what Ferdinand says to us. Never be prideful of what you know, because that knowledge has very restricted limits in the world in which you live. Supposing you were a prominent intellectual celebrity on this planet, still you would have no right to be proud. If God, within His designs, causes you to be born in an ambient where you could develop this intelligence, then it was because He wished you to use it for the benefit of everyone. You have been given a mission by the fact of God having placed an instrument in your hands, which can be used to develop the retarded intelligences around you, and so conduct them to God. Is not the nature of the instrument an indication as to the purpose it should be used for? Does not the whole, so make it clear, it's not a very common word in English for us, does not the whole is inshad, right? Does not the hoe which the gardener gives to his assistant show to what use it should be put? What would you say if, instead of working with the hoe, he raised it against his master with a desire to injure him? Would you say it was monstrous? Oh, it's right there, right? It's still there. Would you say it was monstrous that he should be expelled? Well then, it is not the same for he who uses his intelligence to destroy the idea of God and providence amongst his fellow men? Does he not raise the hoe which was given to him to till the soil against his master? Has he then the right to receive the promised salary? On the contrary, does he not deserve to be expelled from the garden? Do not doubt that he will be. Then he will pass through many miserable existences, full of humiliations, until he finally bows down before him to whom he owes everything. Intelligence holds great riches in future merits, provided it is well employed. If all men and women who possessed it used it in conformity with God's wishes, then it would be easy for the spirits to perform their task of helping humanity advance. Unhappily, many have become instruments of pride and perdition against themselves. Mankind abuses intelligence as it does all the other faculties. But, nevertheless, there is no lack of teachings which warn of a powerful hand that may withdraw what has been granted. Once again, this is Ferdinand, a protecting spirit in Bordeaux, 1862. What I find really, really interesting about this message is that he uses a very, very simple analogy, a very, very simple story to make us understand, or at least have an idea of what is he talking about when he's talking about intelligence. So let's start from the beginning. As I entered here this evening, you three were talking. And you guys, you girls were talking about, well, at least one of the topics was cleaning. And to clean something requires a certain amount of work.
And knowledge.
Yeah. But more than work, it requires to know what you need to do. It requires from the person to look at the place and see what needs to be cleaned. And to a person that doesn't clean often, although the person may see that that place is dirty, it needs to be clean, I am pretty sure that at least one of these two things will happen. For that person that doesn't know how to clean, if at the end of the day of work, the person has cleaned everything perfect, it will take more time than for the person that knows what to do. Because the person will not focus on what needs to be done. The person will focus on, what am I missing? What am I not seeing? I have to do this, I have to do this, and will have lots of different worries in their head for the job to be perfect. Or if the person does clean at the same time, the same amount of time that the person that is already knows how to clean, it will not be as good of a job as the other person. Because the person will not be able to see everything, will not be able to go through everything. That's one type of intelligence. When I used to read this message before, and by before I say like way, way long ago, I used to think about intelligence and the meaning of that word intelligence as something that you only have it in your brain, that you only have it in your mind, that you see something and that you understand that something, that you read something and you are able to understand what it is, that somebody gives you a problem and then you solve that problem, and usually is related, or to me, in my view, was related to something math or physics or something like, as we usually see, if we give me an example of someone that's intelligent. It's usually a scientist. It's usually somebody that's in the teaching profession or in research profession. It's usually on that field. That's what we usually think about when we think about intelligence. However, what I never noticed was that the example that he uses here is not necessarily of somebody who is using his intelligence in that kind of way. Because he's using the guy or the person that uses a hoe, that uses uma enxada. And we usually don't think about a person being intelligent if the person is using a hoe. So it is very interesting the way that Ferdinand employs that example of a profession that is not related to the brain as much as it is related to the hands, to doing something, just like cleaning. Right? So I had never thought of it this way before tonight. And as I was reading and coming here and listening to the reading so that I could hear it more and more and more and try to get into the text, and that came to my mind because there's this study, and I'm not proficient in it, and I read a while ago, but I really don't know much about it. But I guess you probably heard before about the multiple intelligences. That there's this person that a while ago came up with this idea of the emotional intelligence. That was the first idea, and then came another researcher that came up with the idea that we have not only these two intelligence, which is the regular intelligence or the cognitive intelligence or the mind intelligence, but we have also this emotional intelligence. Excuse me. But this other researcher, Gardner is his last name. I can't remember his first name. He came with the idea of multiple intelligences. That there are different types of intelligences inside of us. And some of us are better in some intelligences, and some of us are better in other intelligences. So some people are great with personal intelligence. They are great with discussing with other people. They are great with trying to solve interconnection problems among people. But give them a problem to solve in mathematics or in biology, the person will will have no idea what you're talking about. Or give the person a task to draw something. The person will do it marvelously, will be wonderful in drawing. But then give the person something for him to do with his own body, like do a pose or try to act, and the person will be a disaster. So it's different types of intelligence. He calls it intelligence. So it's different types of intelligence that we can have inside of ourselves. So that's why I find it to be very interesting the way Kardec says mission of the intelligent person on earth. And then Ferdinand talks a little about this. But the example that he uses doesn't employ that same type of intelligence that we are used to. So it is as if both of them, knowing or not knowing, they were saying that it doesn't matter what type of intelligence we're talking about. The idea here is not necessarily of knowing in your head or in your heart or in your hands or in your eyes. The idea is not the idea of knowing. The idea here is, what am I doing with what I know? That's the idea. Because it doesn't matter what we know. And that's how he starts. That's exactly how he starts. Never be prideful of what you know. Because we all know something. Everybody knows something, right? The main or the simplest thing, but we all know something. We know I know who is my mother. I know the laughter of something. I know that this happened yesterday. I know something. Everybody knows something. But the moment that we have that knowledge and we think that we are more than others because we have that knowledge, it's when problems start. And not just that we know more, but think that we are better than others because we know more. So, and then he continues, right? Never be prideful of what you know, because the knowledge, that knowledge, meaning the knowledge that I have, has very restricted limits in the world in which you live. So this reminds me of, this first sentence reminds me of Socrates, when he says that he knows, the only thing that he knows is that he doesn't know anything. Because that's what he's saying. He's saying that this knowledge that you have is very limited. The more you try to learn, the more you will see that you have something else to learn. And that makes, or should make us look at ourselves, look within, and ask, why should I be feeling better than others? That I am a better person, or that I am bigger than the other person. What does this lead me to? And once we start seeing examples of this around ourselves, we start to see that it might not always, because it will depend on the person, but it usually leads the person down. I was watching these few days to talk about a certain type of intelligence, which is not the regular intelligence of being studious. Or I was watching. We were at home, and the girls were watching something that was on TV about Justin Bieber. And we were talking that when they were young, we went to the movie theater to watch his first movie, which was not a movie. I mean, it was kind of a documentary showing a little bit of his beginnings in Canada, and how he used to like to play the guitar to his friends and to his uncle, and he would go out and play in front of shopping malls and get money from people because he was playing. He's very talented. He is really a very good singer, a very good guitar player as well, and he's really a showman, I would say. In showing how he was rising and how people saw him. And there was this guy that was big at the time, Usher, that loved what he was doing, so decided to invest in his career, brought him from Canada to the United States, and then started everything. And then he became very, very big. Then in the past few years, he disappeared. He completely, I mean, to me at least, he disappeared. I didn't hear much more about it. And every time I would hear something about it, was not because of his music, was because of things that he was doing outside of the music. I mean, drugs and all these things that we all know of. He is a very intelligent person, musically speaking. And probably, I don't know, I'm not going to say anything about the other side, but he's probably a very intelligent person as well. I mean, probably not the top of the class, but he's probably an intelligent person, intelligent man that knows how to read, that has an education and everything. This didn't prevent him from falling. And that's the question. And that's that's the example that we need to look and take into ourselves, not into him. We need to look at examples and do not judge the others. We don't know. We don't know how difficult it is. We don't know how hard it is. We don't know how difficult really it is when you have all the power and nobody can say no to you. What would you do? And that's the big question. And that's exactly what he's talking about. Never be prideful of what you know. And in this case, what he knows is, at that specific moment, he knows that he's powerful. So, with that power in his hands, what is he doing with that power in his hands? And in the thing that they were watching, and the girls were saying that he came out and said, oh, and that's what happened. I mean, I tasted drugs when I was, for the first time when I was 16, 15, and I would go into clubs where nobody could go in if they were younger than 21, and I was 15, 16 going in. And the question is why? Because nobody says no. And that's the feeling that we have, or that's probably the feeling, or that's likely the feeling that we have when we are prideful of what we know. Because we know more than the others, so we can manipulate the others. We can say whatever we want and everybody will accept it, because everybody will be, in this sense, if I'm talking and nobody knows better than I am, nobody will say anything. And if they say, I can, quote unquote, win over the argument. And then, what am I becoming at that specific moment? From that point where I got, I will only go down. And that's why when we keep reading, and well, he talks about God, and he talks about why he puts in our hands what we have. That's when he moves to the example, so that he can show us how terrible we do with what we have in our hands, and we sometimes don't notice. So he creates this image to shock us, to really put like, hey, what are you talking about? So he says, the guy has been hired, so he's gonna do work. He's gonna work on the garden of the person. So you will use a shovel to dig. You will use the hoe to remove the soil. He will use lots of tools, but he focused on a hoe, because it doesn't matter which instrument. So he focused on a hoe, and then he says, what is a hoe used for? To till the soil, to move the soil around so that you can put your seeds and then make those plants grow. And that's what it is. So that's the question. If I have the power, or if I have the intelligence, to use the same word that he uses here, if I have the intelligence of singing, if I have the intelligence of drawing, if I have the intelligence of speaking, or playing an instrument, or whatever it is, or cleaning, or being a lawyer, the intelligence in general, what am I using that intelligence for? If I have a hoe, and I know that a hoe is used to do this, or if I have a pen, and I know that a pen is used to write, that's what I should do. We may use it for a different use. We can, if we have a long hair, right? We can, and put it
That's
here,
true.
right? We can play around. Instead of writing, we can draw. We can make drawings. And we can have intelligent uses for it, not to be fixed only on that, but we can have intelligent uses and put it to good use. But we also can put that thing to bad use. Right? We can kill, we can harm other people, but we also can save lives with the same thing. this pen right here, exactly this pen, or not exactly this one, but a pen like this, a big, that has like a straw, it's made like a straw with a hole into it. Then if you remove this and you remove this, you can blow into it, right? There's this story of this guy who had, the guy was choking and there was nothing that could remove that choke from him. And the person came and just stuck the open pen into his throat here, the esophagus, so that he could breathe. So he started breathing until the ambulance got, and then they were able to and saved his life with a pen. But what if we get the hole and we use to hit the head of the person who just hired me? So, and it is interesting because it is to us who don't work at the fields, it's an image that we can see, we can understand, but we cannot relate to it directly because it doesn't happen to us, right? But I know that we all drive, and a car is supposed to bring us from one place to another, right? And I guess we all know that there are times when we are not, say, very calm. We are not thinking straight, and then comes a person, and then they pulls their car over in front of me, or honks at me, or stop quickly in front of me. And what does it come from the inside? Fortunately for us, and I hope that's right, that's what happened to all of us here, we will not act on it. We may scream, we may think, we may say something, but we will not do anything. However, we all know that accidents like that happen all the time, and that some people just use their car as a weapon, or sometimes even go out of the car to do something to the other with guns or with, right? There was this guy a year or 2 years ago on a mass bike. They got into a fight, and the guy ran out of his car and jumped in front of the car, the other guy, and the guy just like started driving with the guy on top of his car, like 60, 70 miles on the road, until someone was able to stop him, and the police later on came. And can you imagine? And I mean, I hope that this will not be something that that we would ever do, but we can certainly relate to these types of things in our own lives, because we know that we have intelligence. And the question to ourselves is not if we have a hoe in our hands, because we will probably never have a hoe in our hands. Although Shirley's has one, but I don't do it, right? I'm not a soil type of guy. But I can do bad stuff on my computer, for example, that she will not do because she doesn't use the computer as much as I do, and vice versa, right? So to every life, to every different person, this message applies not with the whole, and not with the intelligence, oh, no, I don't speak to anybody, or I don't write to anybody. So that's not exactly what he's talking about. He's actually really talking about of never be prideful of what you know. Period. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't really matter. It's the question of what if I have something in my hands, if I have something in my possession, if I have a talent, as Jesus says in the parable of the talents, if I have a gift, what should I do with that gift? Should I use it to put it to good use, or should I use it to kill the person that gave me that gift? And that's his main point when he gets to God. Because if we have a work or a job using the whole, someone gave me that job. Right? Unless, of course, if I'm taking care of my own stuff. But that's not the example. The example is he needs to work, and he's working with that because someone gave him the job. So he is using it to do this. But all of a sudden, he decides to take hold of his boss's property, and he goes and hits the boss with the hoe in their head. What will happen to him or to her? If somebody discovers, if somebody finds out, and hope somebody will find out, the person will be prosecuted, will be taken to prison. Something will happen to him. Because why? Because he didn't do what was correct to do. So the question is then, if I put myself in the position of that guy in my life, and something that I have is a gift that I received, and everything that I have basically is a gift that I received. From whom? If we believe in God, it will be from God. But let's think that I don't believe it was God. Let's think that I believe it was my father or my mom. And then I get that gift that he gave me. And instead of using it for the good, I use it for the bad. What will be the feeling of that person who gave me the... What am I doing to that person? So I don't even need to think about God. If I'm talking to a person who is an atheist, doesn't believe in God, I don't need to go that far. For us, it makes sense, and it is true to us, because everything we have, we received because the Creator allowed me to have it. If not, I could have been born with a problem in my mind, and I wouldn't have that intelligence. Then, therefore, I wouldn't receive it, so I would be limited. But if I have it, it's because I'm allowed to have it. So if I'm allowed to have it, and I have it in my hands, what should I be doing with it? So the mission of the intelligent person on earth is not to be intelligent. It's to get whatever we have in our hands and put it to good use. It's to make the most out of what we have and put it to good use, not only to myself, but to everybody that's around. To make the world a better place. It doesn't matter if it's my inner world, if it's a small world, a small portion of the world, because some people don't have the power to go and reach the millions and billions of people, but they have the power to reach 1 or 2 or 3 people and make the difference in their lives. And if we make a difference in the life of one person, it's worth it. And we read it over and over and over again, this type of thing from writers, from people that, they say, oh, I know that I touch a lot of people, but, I read that story, somebody sent this message to me, or somebody sent this, that, your book or your story saved my life or changed the way that I see it, and I feel so thankful for that letter, because I know that my book or my text or my music or my this touched my life. Last weekend, I was watching Altas Horas, which is this TV show on Brazilian television. Usually it's he invites a group of people, famous people or celebrities or singers or whoever, and then they have conversations and ask questions and talk about their lives and so on. And it's turning 20 years old, that program. So it's been 20 years on television. It will be later on this year. And he invited a singer, a very famous singer in Brazil, Milton Nascimento. And he comes to the United States quite often, or at least he used to. He's sick now. I don't know if he's still traveling that much, but I was able to see him here, and he's wonderful. So he was there, and there was a time, and then they showed a time when he came to the program to sing a while ago, maybe, I don't know, 15, 17 years ago. And when he was there, and then the presenter, the host, asks people around, oh, do you have any question? Do you want to say something? And then usually very young people. So one girl comes down. And this girl comes down and she starts saying, she speaks very, very fluently and very, very nicely. She has a very good manner of saying things. And then so she comes and she says, oh, it's not a question per se, but I have to say it. I have to say it. And then she starts talking to Milton, and she says, Milton, I know that you probably heard this so many times, but I'm here to say and to really let you know that you changed my life with your music. Every time that I hear your music, every time that I'm in a certain state, I go put your music and it changes me. And I know all your songs and I know the lyrics, and it really touches me and really. So she keeps saying this, and then the camera focus on him, and he looks like almost as if he cannot believe what he's listening to. And I can imagine how many of us he has touched. With not all his songs, maybe with one song or two songs or three songs. And imagine how many other singers around the world did the same, not only to us, but to everybody. Singers we have no idea that they sing in a different language, that sing in a different country, that are only local singers. People that only people from that town know because they don't have a CD, they didn't record anything, but it's touching the lives of those people there. And their songs or their art or the way they speak, it's really changing the lives of people. So that's what Ferdinand is talking about here, is blessed are the poor in spirit, or blessed are the ones that know what they have and put those things that they know that they have into good use to those who are around, so that they can grow and they can help other people grow, and they can make their parents proud, they can make their family proud, they can make God proud of what he is doing with what he has. So if we have that, whatever we have, whatever we have been given, be it the gift, what the gift is, may we be able to use it for the good. Even if we sometime didn't use it right, may we turn it into using right. And with this, I'm gonna finish with two stories. That one I like to tell from time to time, and I think this is a good moment to say it again. And the other one is about, it's not a story. I mean, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but just remember Paul, the apostle, right? The apostle of the Gentiles, the one that has the letters at the end of the Bible, right? The letters, the epistles to the Corinthians, to Galatians, and so on. And that once he was Saul, and then one point he turned into being Paul. He had a gift. And before he woke up, what was the way that he was using his gift? He ended up killing someone because of that gift. Because if he wanted, he could have said anything and that thing could be stopped. And Stephen would have not been killed. Because he had the power. He had the knowledge. He knew. He was intelligent. But then he woke up
And he saw that he was using his intelligence to the bad side, not to build, but to destroy. So he decided to construct from then on. So he changed it. And then, so for us to finish, I want to remind everyone about that movie that I mentioned from time to time, which is called Catch Me If You Can, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's based on a true story. Leonardo DiCaprio plays this guy, I think his name is Abagnale, and he is the guy that learns how to fake everything, document in terms of documents and checks, and so he starts faking certificates. So he becomes a doctor, then he becomes a lawyer, then he becomes an airplane pilot. He becomes everything, and he starts to become very, very rich because he starts stealing with those checks. And Tom Hanks, which I don't know, he's from the FBI, he starts trying to catch him. And he is able to finally apprehend him. And that should be the end of the story, because I mean, the movie looks like it will be about the catching of the bad guy. But then when he's caught, what happens is people are still faking checks all around. People are still stealing. And they are not able to identify the checks and what are the forgeries. So the guy from the FBI goes back to him and says, look, you've been apprehended, you've been in jail, your sentence is this, but if you help us catch these other guys with what you know, we may lessen your sentence, and you may have. And then what he does, he starts looking at the other forgeries and saying, oh, this is where he did it, this is what he does, this is how, and then he is helping the FBI now, using his intelligence, turning what he used for the bad now to use for the good. And then now he is on the other side trying to use it correctly. And then later on, when he finally ends his sentence and so on, he becomes this expert in forgery, in internet security, and launches books about this and teaches people how to protect themselves and so on. So he started by not using his intelligence in a constructive way, but finally saw the light. And see, we're not talking about Jesus, we're not talking about being a religious thing. No, it's an application in our real lives, in our day-to-day lives. So whatever we know, whatever we have as a gift, let's try. Let's make an effort, not try, let's make an effort to really make that thing, that gift, turn that gift into something that it's a gift also for the others, not only for myself, so that I can be proud of it. I can recognize that, okay, I'm doing better, so that God will look at us and say, I'm proud of my son. I know that he is doing a good thing. I know that he is putting his best into using what I gave him to the good. So that's in general what the message here by Ferdinand tells us when he starts by saying, never be prideful of what you know. So, and with this, I'd like to once again thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And next month we will start next chapter. Hopefully Hendrik will be here to talk to us about the other chapter, second Monday of April. And right now we will go to our passes. I don't know if we're going to take our passes. No. Okay, so let's just then finish our meeting tonight. with our final prayer, and then we will give us a few announcements, and we can all go to our homes safely and sound. So at this moment, we would like to keep thinking about God and thinking about our Master and our friend Jesus that came to us as a teacher to bring us these ideas that are around the world, but that sometimes we tend to forget them. So Jesus, thank you for using your intelligence, the one that God gave you, to come here and fill our minds and our hearts, not only with the knowledge, but also with the seeds of love that allow us to see what we know and learn that we have to put this knowledge into practice, to love more and more. May your blessings that are surrounding us at this moment, in every moment of our lives, leave our bodies in forms of good thoughts, of good words, but especially in the form of good deeds, of actions through our hands, through our feet, through our body. May your hope, the hope that you give us of our lives, of our eternal, infinite lives, be deep within our hearts, so that we can feel that we have the power to continue going and following your light wherever you are. May your blessings fill our hearts and the minds of those who are in our minds, our loved ones. And may we go back to our homes or to our work with you always on our side. So be it. So, as we finish our meeting, we'd like to remind everyone about the gospel at home, so that we can invite Jesus to our house. So we get a book, we get the Gospel According to Spiritism, or one of these books, like the one that Nancy read to us, Our Daily Bread, and we read a small message and we make a comment on those messages so that we can receive and invite the good spirits to our houses as well. Can be once a week, the amount of time that we want to talk, about 10, 15 minutes. It can be more, can be less, so that we can bring a little light to our minds, to our houses as well. Remind everyone that by the end, I think the last Saturday of March, the 28th, Divaldo will be here once again. There will be simultaneous interpretation in English if you need. The tickets are $50. It gives 55. Yeah. It gives you have a book when you buy the ticket, and remembering that all the donation, all this money goes straight to the Mansion of the Way, which is a charity work that he does with more than 3,000 people in Salvador, Bahia, and he will be here. It's been 92 years. He's 92 years old. He's been traveling all around the world. This month he will have 17. There are 17 or I don't know, 17 or 18 days of lectures that he will give. At 92. Well, in United States, he will be close to the end of the month, about one a day from a week before. So he will be here, I think, on the 21st in Florida, and then in another place in New York. So one lecture a day. And then the last day he will be here, 28th. 2 days later, he will be in Salvador and giving another lecture. And he's 92 years old. So I guess he's putting his intelligence to work. It is good to see him, to feel him. And he's been non-stop ever since he started more than 70 years ago. So it's unbelievable. So he will be here once again. Hopefully we will be able to go, or we'll be able to see him once more. And I think that's it, right? Do you have anything else, Cris? No? See, Adriana? No? So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, guys, and have a great night. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Você criança também? Todo mundo vai passar você todo. Seus parentes lá em cima, deixa eu sacar aqui. Deixa eu falar essa gaveta desse tempo logo de sábado, depois. Vamos tirar outra? Agora já estou com Cris, vai com Deus. Você decidiu alguma coisa, você me fala. Você falou comigo ou com meu marido? Você. Ah, que tem a bruxa, mandou para a bruxa. Coitada, vai puxar o cabelo dela depois. Você está pulando o cabelo do tio agora. Cansada da música. Vou piar. Vou pensar. Qualquer coisa você fala. Tá, eu me vou. Tchau, Mackenzie. Vai ver que você vem. Thank you.